the end on the streets of gold. And oh, I walk alone, I fear no evil on my road. And oh, I walk alone, I fear no evil on my road. 'Cause I know He's watching over me from somewhere above. Yes, I know He's watching over me from somewhere above. Yes, sister, don't you recognize these are your brother's eyes looking at you? Yes, sister, don't you recognize these are your brother's eyes looking at you? And I look forevermore, forevermore. Yeah, I look forevermore, forevermore. And now I'm all alone here. I'm in the dark room once again. Yeah, now I'm all alone here. I'm in the dark room once again. But I remember that even a little spark, it beats the dark. Oh, just remember that even a little spark, it beats the dark. Oh, just remember that even a little spark, it beats the dark. Yes, sister, don't you recognize these are your brothers looking at you? Yes, sister, don't you recognize these are your brother's eyes looking at you? And I look forevermore, forevermore. Yeah, I look forevermore, forevermore. Yeah, I look forevermore, forevermore. Yeah. Forevermore, 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 forevermore. Yeah. Forevermore, forevermore. Thank you so much.
Unmuted.
Unmuted.
Thank you so much for the beautiful music. Wow, that was perfect. And thank you so much for all of you for being here today. I'm more than excited. I arrived here just today, a few hours ago, and I arrived from 3 days of a very productive tour in Denmark, both in Copenhagen and Aarhus. I also have another event in Aalborg in to the finals, but again, I'm very, very, very excited to be here. I shouldn't mention that this is my first time in the Faroe Islands, and you have a beautiful, beautiful country. I arrived here. This is my 20th country, the last year, and I've been traveling a lot for a very, very important mission, which I will discuss very shortly, and that is the commemoration of a very cool event that we experienced over 2 years ago. But just a little about myself. My name is ALON PENZEL. I'm 24 years old. When I was younger, I had 3 different weekly TV shows on Israeli TV channels. And I participated in many different leadership organizations when I was young. When I served in the military, I was the spokesperson for the foreign media, for the Ministry of Defense. And when I finished my military service, I began studying political science at the University of Haifa. And then October 7th happened. And on October 7th, already in the morning, I realized that people, some of whom I knew, were being murdered, slaughtered, not only in the same rooms, but also on the very same beds which I had slept on just around 9 months before during my military service, which part of it was next to the Gaza border at the Erez crossing. As a spokesperson and someone who is, since he was very young, has been dealing with Israeli advocacy, with diplomacy, etc., I felt the need to take action and do something to make sure that people would not forget and deny the atrocities of what happened on October 7th, which they are right now. And at the beginning, I was thinking, what can I do in order to make sure that this is not forgotten? And right away, I decided to start documenting. What does it mean? Starting to interview the rescue, recovery forces, survivors of the Nova Festival, forensic experts were looking at the bodies, and also seeing the bodies myself and telling the world what was happening there. The first step was to speak to Zaka volunteers. For who may not know, Zaka volunteers, basically the recovery forces who arrived at the kibbutzim on October 7th when the attack happened, when Hamas terrorists stormed the state of Israel and murdered as many people as they could. Zaka volunteers were the first people who were there on the ground at the kibbutzim, at the festival, recovering the bodies, trying to rescue as many bodies, not people, bodies as possible, from being taken in real time captive by Hamas terrorists themselves, and obviously respectfully and with as much honor as possible to be buried. And I was documenting their stories, their testimonies. And the first challenge you can imagine was, first of all, how to even get them to talk to me. They are still very busy, obviously, with recovering bodies, and, of course, dealing with what they had just seen, with the worst they had just been exposed to. But the more challenging part was, once you already sit with them, you convince them to speak with you, to share testimony, because you tell them that these accounts, these testimonies must be documented. The more challenging part was how to get them to share the very specific details with me. Not to just say there were bodies, not to just say there were atrocities, there were more. We know there were. But we need to know more, we need to know exactly what happened. And in the book, which I will describe shortly about, I describe the interaction with these people who gave me the testimonies, how I was trying to get them to talk to me and to really share the details, and on the other hand, they felt very, some of them were very willing to give the testimony, some found it very hard. Again, they just saw the worst. And I shared that intimate interaction that I had with them in a very honest way in the book. I will say that the talk today, and we'll have a short talk, I will share a little about what I did, about my experience, and then we will move shortly to Q&A because I believe that this is the most interesting part. But during the talk today won't really touch the testimonies themselves. It will touch more elaborate about what we're dealing with. But I will give one testimony from October 7, one testimony from the Zaka volunteers, basically. When I heard it,
We don't.
Lost.
We lost the voice.
we lost the sound.
The mic. That's about the real.
Battery lost.
I think we can also do without.
Oh, it was, yeah. Let's connect.
Yes, I can also. But it's working.
Okay.
Problem solved. In the meantime. Yeah, I think it's working. Is it? Okay, we'll either do.
Yeah, just tell me.
So I'll share one testimony that when I heard that testimony, I realized that I must keep documenting, because what I thought was a very different event on October 7, because I was in the army and I was a spokesperson and I was dealing with basically many different aspects of the military. So I was involved, and already on October 7th, I realized, or thought I realized, the magnitude of the event. When I started hearing the testimonies already on the very first days, I realized how bigger it is. And I'll give an example, and I'll also give a trigger warning for that one testimony, because it might not be easy to hear. But I believe we must bear witness. One of the Zaka volunteers is telling me about one of the houses they entered. And he's telling me about the house which was completely destroyed. There were basically only. And they found it was a woman. The woman was completely naked, and the volunteers were trying to extract her from the mattress, extract her body. But they couldn't, and they didn't understand why they couldn't. So they were lifting the mattress, and they found another man on the other side of the mattress. He was also naked, he was also dead. Body as well, to extract his body, but they couldn't, and they didn't understand why. Then they realized that the terrorists basically inserted metal wires through their stomachs, inside their bodies, and this of the mattress. This is the extent of cruelty of Hamas terrorists. I think they chose many things, but one thing above all, Hamas terrorists didn't only come to Israel that day in order to kill. They came to slaughter, use, to humiliate, to destroy. And I'll give another example to that. When I was documenting the testimonies, I was making sure that I cover every aspect of the attack. From the party, to the kibbutzim, from children to the deadly roads as well. We're talking about the judge shows, again, that they had a very clear purpose to break the spirit. And here we are today. And in many others, and the rules from the roads. Enough for me to document only the testimonies from the recovery forces. Massacre was designed to investigate and identify the bodies which initially weren't identified. Just think about it. The best experts, Israeli, four killing methods. he was shot, not only he was dead, but he was also run over by a car. You reach a point where you don't identify what happened to the cause was. I knew how important the cause is, and I knew that we must do everything to the most elaborate details. I couldn't digest food when I was eating it. I couldn't even look at my very family. I was visualizing the bodies, not only the bodies, but mainly the testimonies that I was exposed to. And the third step was speaking to Nova survivors, those who survived the Nova festival. Just at the festival, around 400 people were slaughtered, just as the festival, largest, biggest, most, the deadliest terror attack in the history of the state of Israel. Not only October 7th, specifically the festival. And at the party, people didn't only survive by luck. They survived because they made brave decisions on the ground, cruel decisions. Do I keep running for my life? Or do I stop and help my friend who just got shot or fell during the run, and further jeopardizing my life by doing that? People who survive. And again, my job is to sit with these individuals and convince them to share the very specific details that they saw and experienced. And again, the very specific details, because I knew that if we don't have all the details, people would deny. And again, easy, because if another survivor, sometimes younger than me, tells me about his friend who got shot in front of him, and I have to insist and ask him, can you elaborate on how he got shot and what happened to him when he got shot? Was he executed? How did it happen? I was very enthusiastic when I finished documenting the atrocities and simultaneously writing a book. I was writing a book basically that I thought would remain with us for generations to come. And now, after a year and a half, I can say it is. And I was very enthusiastic to publish this book in English, of course, first of all, to make sure that the world knows what happened. And when I tried to upload the book to Amazon, Amazon blacklisted the book. They banned it on their website. They said it was a violation of their guidelines. Of course, I gave up and press, and we were fighting it in the decided to reverse their decision. And I always say that the sweet revenge, right, is that it has become a bestseller in 9 different countries since then, on Amazon. And my message here is very, very clear. When they try to silence us, we speak up even louder. And we speak up very strongly and proudly and with resilience, and they can never silence us. And when they try, again, we are louder and we're clearer. When I published the book, I needed people to be exposed to the testimonies. It wasn't enough for me to pride or personal accomplishment. I needed people to be exposed to the testimonies. How do I do that now? I decided to go on a world tour, and as I mentioned, Faroe Islands is my 20th country so far. And I've had many experiences on the way. I'll share some of them with you. For instance, when I was invited to address the House of British Parliament, and I did, and it was a very impactful event, and I met many parliamentarians, and I shared with them testimony from the attack, from the massacre. And then when I tried to come back to Israel after addressing the House of Lords in the British Parliament, I was detained by the British police at Luton, security officer, who stopped me, detained me, and I'm quoting, for the illegal occupation carried out by Israel since 1948. This is what he said. He called more security officers using his device. They detained me, took my passport, said that they would let me know whether I can board my flight or not. Another example of the anti-Semitism which we have witnessed during the last years, of course before, but I think that we have seen the rise of anti-Semitism. And of course, I filed a lawsuit against Luton Airport, which is still ongoing, and the trial will be held in March next year. And this is another opportunity for me to share at least my personal experience as someone who truly believes. I want to go down because I stick this out more. You sure? Yeah.
Yes.
But he wants to see. I'll speak loud. Speak loud. So, thank you, Anna. Thank you, Anna. Okay, I'll speak louder. I can speak louder, don't worry. So this is another example.
Can you come closer?
I will. This is another example what Amazon did and how Luton Airport did to silence not my person. It demonstrates something larger than that. It's not my voice that they are trying to silence. It's the victims' voices, the survivors' voices, the voices of people who are fighting not only for Israel, but for basic humanity. I always say that October 7th is not about supporting Israel, it's about fighting for humanity versus barbarism, civilization versus atrocities. So, their attempts won't succeed, and we'll keep fighting them. I'll personally keep fighting them every way I can to make sure that they know. We're make them like us. That's not the goal. We're trying to make them understand. If they are treating us unfairly for being Jewish or for being pro-Israel, there will be consequences. That's the simple message. That's what we want to achieve. Here is another example. October 5th.